fellow tankers, I am wot Blitz and welcome back to my videos. I am going over armor penetration, the mechanics on how it works, and everything today. I just want to let you know before I get into it, I do talk pretty quickly. If you guys have any questions about what I do talk about or there's any confusion, please let me know now in the comments below. Please, I will definitely respond to you guys. But thanks, please enjoy the video I have made.
Every shell in the game has its penetration capability. The documentation specifies the average penetration when firing from 100 meters. Penetration is either 25% higher or lower, and the damage caused is calculated in a similar manner. Few people actually realize, but the different shell types would be best for firing at the same target in different situations. To do this correctly, you will need some theory. As you know, there are 4 different shell types, each with unique properties. The main shell type used is AP, or armor-piercing rounds. The shells fly quickly, but their penetration capability slightly reduces with distance. Their penetration capability also reduces when they hit a destructible object like a fence or a vehicle. The fastest shells are APCR, armor-piercing composite rigid. These shells can go through fences too, but with distance they lose penetration capability more than AP shells. The heat or high explosive anti-tank is a different story. Its penetration capability doesn't depend on the range and remains the same along the entire trajectory. But this comes at a price. This shell is the slowest one, and if it does hit a fence, it won't go any further. HE or high explosive fly almost as fast as AP shells, and they don't lose their penetration power with distance. After hitting any object, the HE shell detonates, and its fragments can damage a vehicle nearby. In addition, these shells have the highest potential damage and the lowest penetration capability. If you do want to cause damage through fences, use AP or APCR shells. To fire at a slow and well-armored target located far away, you'll hardly find anything better than the heat shell. If you take a shot at scouts from a long distance, the ideal choice is the APCR shell. And if your enemies are paper-thin, send them some high explosive fun with those shells. Now on to armor penetration. If the penetration of your shell is higher than the thickness of the armor, it will penetrate into the average damage. This is only true, however, on a flat surface. When the tank angles, it is a bit different. When the tank angles, the shell has to penetrate a much thicker layer of armor. To ensure the higher shell effectiveness, the design of shells allowed them to shift, adjusting to the normal angle. This results in thinner relative armor. This is called shell normalization. The normalization for AP shells is 5 degrees, APCR has 2 degrees, and heat and high explosive don't have any shell normalization. The next rule is the 2 calibers rule. If the shell's caliber is twice the thickness of the nominal armor thickness, the shell's shift angle to the normal vector increases greatly. For ricochets, AP shells and APCR shells ricochet at an angle of 70 degrees or more, and when they ricochet, they lose 25% of their penetration capability. A heat shell ricochets at an angle of 85 degrees or more, which is a much larger angle with no loss of penetration at all, which means that your shell could actually ricochet off of a mouse, hit a Jagdpanzer, and actually penetrate it and kill it, which is very cool. High explosive shells, or HE, do not ricochet at all. The next rule is the 3 calibers rule. It only applies to AP shells and APCR shells. If the shell caliber is more than 3 times the nominal armor thickness, there will be no ricochet no matter any angle. So if the angle is more than 70 degrees, use heat because AP and APCR is useless. But wait, there's one last thing. Screens and spaced armor. When an AP or APCR hits spaced armor, the entry angle and the shell's precise penetration capacity are calculated. At the same time, the ricochet and 3 calibers rule are being verified. If the shell has enough piercing power, it penetrates the screen, but its penetration capability is reduced by the value of relative armor thickness. Then if the projectile hits the main armor, the above-mentioned calculations are made again. It's only after this the damage is or isn't inflicted on the enemy vehicle. When a heat shell hits the screen, the situation is somewhat different. The 3 calibers rule doesn't apply here. The ricochet angle is different and the shell doesn't normalize. If the armor has been penetrated, this shell will lose 5% of its armor piercing power every 10 centimeter of travel distance. So don't use heat on tracks or spaced armor. This is going to be the end of my video though on AP heat HE and a PCR shells. I didn't do Hesh just because Hesh is almost the exact same as, HE. And I will say I got most of these paragraphs and things from Wargaming North America's video on this. I'll leave a link to the description down below. I'm just saying this because most of this is copied over, so I don't want to get copyrighted or anything. But if you did enjoy this video and have any questions about it, please let me know in the comments down below. I will feel free to answer any of your questions. Also, make sure to send me your replays at burningpeak30@gmail.com. I will also leave that in the description down below. If you did like this video, though, please give me a like. If you didn't like it, please tell me why with a down thumb. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.